Thank you for joining us. Let's head to the equities market now as the bears continue to dominate the domestic stock market as the market capitalization shared 341 billion naira amid sustained negative investor sentiment. If you look at the all-share index decreasing by 626.14 absolute point there, representing a dip of 1.16% to close at 53,124.63 points there. But well, let's take a look at the top 5 gainers for Tuesdays and the top 5 losers. If you look at PZ in the top gainers there, you also look at Multiverse there in the top green of MTN Cocoa, gaining about 7.69% to close at 28 kobo there. Regency Assurance Insurance, rather, look at that with about 6.9% there, with 2 kobo gain to close at 31 kobo. Those are the top 5 gainers for yesterday's. If you look at the flip to the other side now, Chams, UACN, Dangote Cement pulling down the index yesterday with about 4.14% as the shares or the stock, the share closed around 276 naira at the end of the day, fixing the healthcare maker there, or product maker there, with about 2.95% decline, and Prestige also among the top decliners for the day. So let's get talking now. The current sentiment behind the index or the movement in the market yesterday. So Ambrose Omodion, as usual, our Chief Research Officer, Investor Consulting, joins us now. Thank you for joining us, Ambrose. So what's your take on the market yesterday? It looks like we're still seeing the bears dominating the market, despite the Geregu Power, and of course, that visited the market yesterday, because we have the officials of Geregu Power visited the market yesterday. We thought that should have given a boost for investors.
Actually, as you rightly said, the market was still on a selling sentiment yesterday, but at the end of the day, we saw a mistrend. Why is it mistrend? You saw how about almost 17 gainers against the 9 losers, because the high cap stocks, especially Dangote, was on the loser side. That's why the market was in red yesterday. But if you look at the market breadth, it's a positive one, and also we saw that some position taking in banking stock continue. Despite as at yesterday, people are still, how long will this result continue to wait until they start hitting the market? But also kind towards the end of the day, was Sozinet Bank released their result to the market, which was also a missed number that they have finally declared 2 naira 90 kobo. For me, the market at this point is for traders, for investors market, I said. But also yesterday tell you that there's also hope for the market. For those that are income investor, go ahead and position in your dividend paying company and take your dividend. Yes, people say, as we're expecting the incoming government, yes, they must come with some uncertainties, but I tell you that in the midst of uncertainties, there are always opportunity for you to make money. That means for investors or traders in the market, it's for you to do position in the right sectors where you see that, yes, as the incoming government is coming, they will come with the other policy shift, they come with reforms in some sector. At the same time, they matter to take this whole structure of the economy, because if things are not work for almost like 8 years, then the government also let me change, then and also with a good guide, let's move this way, and then we'll go to production economy or something else, or mix of production and service and all those stuff. That also, for me, I believe that the next administration should come with a lot of ideas that will change Nigeria economy and change the narrative of this economy dragging in terms of growth. I tell you that post the last recession, the economy has not gathered more strength to say that yes, we'll leap either in a quarter with a good growth. That means we need a kind of a new strength or energy that will do that. I believe that if the new government put their team correctly, and also they hit the ground running on time, that will also support. But for me, investors should not panic, because I tell you, if the market structure has changed and it has supported the market, it will still also support the market to the next government. Because I tell you, if you have to be where we have foreign investors in the market, we will not be just saying the market just lost for 4 days. People are complaining. No, I tell you, they would have dumped on us and quickly.
But it looks like yesterday's loss was massive. Perhaps that again has also should raise a kind of concern. The market losing more than 1%.
For me, that's no big concern, because we know why. I tell you that in this market, there are just 5 stocks that had about 70% impact control of the index, especially Ete, MTN, Dangote, Boasment, when the and Nestle and Setplat, when this type of stock catch cold in the market, you see that everything in the market will look like it's not because if you look at let's say the sectoral performance, how about three sector that was in green, food and beverages was in green, bank was in green, but just only the industrial good that lost about 2.21 that put the market in red. For me, it's like this morning now, because Dangote to have gained back almost 14 naira, it has put the market back in a green. Tell you that these are the things market should do. As an investor, what you do now, you don't look at only the market index to judge your decision or to take decision. Look at the sector that we want to enter, to start the sector. And at the same time, look at that individual stock, because I tell you, defensive stock is always suffice at this point. Because if we're expecting uncertainties to come between now and the handover period, that means you should be in a situation so that your money will be kind of protected. So at the end of the day, when new things are coming, that sector where your position will be the sector that will drive the market recovery. For me, there's
you talk about the fact that market is expectant of the banking earnings. You also talked about the fact that we now have Zenith Bank. So how much of an impact with that have that expectation, the fact that expectation has been delayed or this result have not come in, and how much impact is that having on the market at the moment?
No,
investors reacting to the fact that we have not seen results of this.
Yes, no, it so happened yesterday when PZ released the result. It was impressive. Q3 number, it gained almost 10% yesterday. This one was Zenith Bank among the top 5 gainers already in the market. The life of Owandu that also released result yesterday. Owandu have really much like the overdue numbers for a long time, but we are yet to see 2022. But I think up to like 2021, we have seen their number. Yet have been a kind of a bad performance the previous year. But the last full year for 2021, we saw a kind of a rebound to profitability after what almost 140 something billion loss. They are back to about 34 billion profit. If that is sustained in the 2022 we're expecting, that is good for these are the things that are driving the market now. I tell you that these earnings will support the market.
There are those who are speculating that perhaps the reason why we're seeing a delay in the release of these earnings is because some of these banks are, internationally connected. Their services are outside Nigeria. For instance, you have Zenith Bank, you have UBA, you have most of the tier 1 banks also have services extended outside the shores, and that they could in a way be connected to the global financial crisis, which is also rocking the banking sectors as well, all around it. But could that be the reason why we're seeing a delay, or is there any reason?
No, like you alluded to, but I would say I won't agree with you totally on that. But I believe that, as you just said, since they are first year bank, they know most of them are operating outside the shore of Nigeria, especially in African continent. Like what happened in Ghana, in terms of Ghana not be able to meet their debt, responsibility. Yes, if the banks there have invested in that instrument, they have. But I tell you that because that is not only where you have your office, that they can only have your work to net it out at the end of the day when you get report. That's why when you have a mix of income, and that's why most of the banks in Nigeria are going to hold code, and that hold code is a good powerful tool for them so that they can only support their bottom line at the end of the day as a group. For me, it's a good one.
And in case of any shock, they'll be able to
exactly that. For me, it's a good one. But now that we have seen Zenith Bank opening the door yesterday with a missed number, let's expect to see GTB, UBA, Access Bank, and ETI. But from the numbers that came from Stanbic IBTC and Zenith Bank, we can conclude that where the banks are going. Because if you look at the bank's interest income, good to tell you that interest rate hike has also reflected. But because of what you just said now, what happened in Ghana, they have to make provision for that for Zenith Bank. Also, that means other banks that has operation there, if they are involved in this instrument now about the bond where they are going to negotiate how to pay back, that also will also reflect on them. But I believe that Zenith Bank can show strength. If with that they can still pay their 2 naira, 90 kobo.
I'm just trying to look at the banks that are really outside, especially in Ghana, because of the debt crisis in that country. I thought that since we have the Vice President of US, Kamala Harris visited that place, we should be able to have a kind of negotiations that can put them out of that.
No, actually it's part of the visit, and also like somebody was doing analysis yesterday from Ghana. said also that pushed that before the World Bank tried to also evidence it's possible to build that out. But when you build out, when you are being bailed out, you don't need to live a big life. You want to also manage your resources to keep the economy running. I believe that when they are back on track, all these banks, even though they are for now they are putting on hold, it's also going to reflect on the banks, boost later in the year or in the future. That means there's no say all hope are lost. There's still hope that, but good that our banks have shown strength as the regulator have said in their last MPC meeting. And also, if you look at the data around our banks, their earnings are becoming stronger. For me, interest rate is a plus for the bank, but most times, because what is happening in the matured market, interest is part of what also is affecting them. That means it depends the angle where you're operating. What affected the Silicon Valley Bank is because they're into tech business and into venture capital. And when you are living, people are bringing a high cost, servicing it also, it depends on, because these are special banks for special things, when they are afraid to go to a, but for our banks here, I believe that also, not like say the banks say, oh, we are free. No, you also make put strategy that means that you are not affected. Also, CBN also look more on the bank so that what doesn't happen, we go to beef it up and
because we also hope that maybe the Ghana Central Bank will be able to also come up with, because currently their interest rate is around 29%, inflation is about above 50, so that's quite high. So I'm just looking at what wonders if Nigerian banks operating in that country may take a chunk of this, yes, of course it will impact a bit.
Because also if they invested in their bond, they have a work to go to Nafed because they are not going to service the bond, going to pay. So even though your interest are accruing to you, they are not paying you. Even your capital, you're not for that. You have a work. But the good thing is that, like I just said, if you're operating in different domain, different climate, there's a way that if this one is having issue, one should also support you to bottom. That's why I said when you have a mixed source of income or source of operations, it's not a work for that. But if you are in one place, for example, if Ghana were in the only place we have Zenith Bank, there have been a problem. But because aside Ghana has a war operating in other Western country, all those. For that, for me, it's a good one for us to have a mixed bank, or have an international network to the test of our operation.
Okay, so the month is winding down gradually, and that also signals the end of first quarter and the beginning of another quarter. I know in the coming days, of course, we'll talk about, we'll assess the market, the first quarter, and of course, what is expected in the second quarter. But if you are to look at holistically, do you think the current trend now, do you think it will continue till the end of this month?
Yeah, it's possible, but don't forget that most of the big fund players have what we call, the money portfolio. And at the end of every quarter, that's what we call, dressing. That window dressing does to balance your account. Right. And if market is coming down and you close the quarter on a lower, it's going to affect either your commission or your profit sharing with whoever you are managing your portfolio. That's why I see in anywhere, not only in Nigeria, across the board, international market, once the end of the quarter, you see traders will try to push the price of most stocks up higher than what it opened the quarter, so that at the end of the day they can earn something for that quarter because they are managing portfolio. That means as well from now to the end of Friday, now we expect to see this mixed trend. Today we have seen in a positive open this morning. If that is sustained, market might be likely to get back what it lost yesterday. But as we speak, the market are almost around the 0.9%. Before I left the place, my house, they tell you that market is still in that direction. For me, it's a good thing. But like I said, immediately after the whole handover process or program, I will tell you that once they start hearing from the new administration where they are heading to, who is who, it's confident, and also if before that the court processes, which is I think is very, very important. All the documents, all the tribunals should also be finished before the handover, so that once if a handover, we know that there's nothing people to be afraid of. Then we can now plan that in the next 4 years, we have the government has come to say.
Some are already projecting that the litigations may extend beyond the handing over date, and that means that you can still have a president in office, but again the litigations are going to continue, and that means another trouble for the incoming administration if that litigations goes beyond the handing over date.
No, if you go beyond that, the two parties, or all of them will have their own legal team, or they're outside that. Then even though he's in power, you also know that yes, that will not affect his operation. It's not the first time Nigeria was saying that where you are still a president, it's not you to go to the court. Your team will go to the court. You are still do your. For me, that is not an issue. The only thing that I prefer that before the handover, you're able to get the direction, Even others, I believe that our lawyers or Supreme Court has a lot of work to do, and also to keep Nigeria in the right direction, to do the needful at the right time.
Well, it's an interesting day is ahead, indeed. But let's look at specifically look at some stocks, and in terms of sectors that would drive this mixed market, in the coming days, or to wrap up the first quarter. Let's look at some sectors like consumer goods. We'll look at industrial, goods as well. The oil, sector. We also need to look at that, but specifically for industrial goods and consumer goods. So, how much of confidence do you think investors have in this?
For the industrial goods, because of the new administration and government involvement, infrastructure was so that the business will continue, and also for the consumer goods, it depends on the disposable income of the consumers after it will. You saw what the cash crunch did to our economic activities in the month of it's also what is happening now. But now that I think gradually, I can see even at the fleet stage, I can see that cash has coming back. If we know, as I told you earlier, this program, that before the end of April, if we reach the things also bounce back, but I believe that between now and that April, this slow economy will still be there until 15. But the consumer goods, for me, will have a still slow down. But also the number that came from that sector also reflected that yes, there's a mixed number. Despite all this, we saw a good number from Dangote Sugar. We saw good number from Nestle. The one that came from PZ yesterday was also positive. No, that of Cadbury was yes a mixed number, but and the other was like Flour Mill and Match account. Well, I believe that as we go into the future, we'll know. But for industrial goods, no problem. For oil and gas, we expect more number to come. But the one that came from one yesterday, was a missed number. But with what we're seeing, and also the Q3 number and unaudited account from this bank, this company and that oil sector, there's already a signal where they are going. For me, there's no cause for alarm.
Let's look at insurance, for instance. The payout, the premium payout in 2022, rose more than over 300 billion naira or so in 2022. And if you look at the sector as well, in terms of how much the sector has grown in assets, over 2 trillion naira in the insurance sector. So do you think there is a prospect in that sector, given how much of premium they've paid out in last 1 year, and of course how the asset has risen to over 2 trillion naira?
Yeah, I would say there's an opportunity in the insurance sector, especially those that are doing the composite, and they're doing both insurance and for general and for life insurance and all those stuff. For me, there's a business there, because don't forget that at the beginning of this year, the regulators, they approve almost a 200% increase in premium collection. That means if you are paying 5,000 naira for your third party, or you are paying 15,000 now. They tell you that was also to go across not only the motor insurance. That means that also improved them across. It also improved their performance. And don't forget that it's already part of the world that insurance are being owned by banks. In a mature economy, insurance is what that owns bank because of the pool of funds they play with, and also when there is kind of a disaster, to insurance pay from their nose, like what is happening in Turkey and Syria. I think the insurance company in those environments should also be crying, because they have a lot of indemnity, they have a lot of claim to pay. But here we can see that it's moderate. I tell you, most times, and many times, your car get accident, and it's just because we had issue of SARS. That is also, I know that at that time also insurance company in Nigeria we also threatened, because you need to pay claims for those. But also it's good that we insure our business, so that when unforeseen things happen, you can bounce back and continue your business. But I tell you, there is prospect for insurance companies, especially if you are medium to long-term investor in insurance. Because I believe that the more we're seeing the profitability increase in the insurance company, at the end of the day, they will impact their bottom line. But for traders, you have to be very careful, because trading a low-cap stock is very, very risky unless you have information and also able to put your risk management tools well as a trader.
How about healthcare? Because yesterday we saw fixing declining by about 2.95%. At the end of the trading section. So talk to us about the prospect in the
for me, I see also good prospect in healthcare, but the good thing is that investors should also don't be greedy when we are taking a decision. We saw a positive number from this healthcare company at the end of their full year 2022, but the payout in that industry is what people are looking at. When we have an earnings of almost 1 naira 80 kobo or 81 kobo, we are paying 55 kobo out as dividend. We're having almost 1 naira paying 30 kobo as dividend. But if you look at the price they are selling, some of them have become more attractive because of the yield. But for me, because anywhere in the world, the healthcare sector is very given, especially now that government and CBN are giving attention to that sector to drive our healthcare instead of going for tourism, health tourism abroad, or going. If we can stick, looking world and also encourage them. For me, there's prospect there too. Because whether there's incoming government or that government, health is health. Whether an old man will not say because of that government, I won't treat myself. Continuity.
Although the figures have shown that we have a lot of Nigerians, sick, going for medical tourism outside.
That's why we need to develop our healthcare.
Talking about development, so that means we have enough market here that we're not able to develop.
Yes, once we tap into it, it's a good one for the. Companies,
let's wrap it up as we look at today. I mean, you talk about the fact that the index has moved up by about 0.09% earlier. So how do you think it will end for today? Do you think
if at this early morning we have seen this kind of positive trend and more results in the market as we go into the day, I expect that this trend will sustain. And tomorrow too, because of we expect to see other, now we have seen the bank, GTB follows to UBA Access. Gradually we'll see more results. Other second tier banks will also be coming. Between now and the first week of April, we'll see more results. That will shape the market. But good thing is that in second quarter, anywhere in the world, it's a place that it's time that we'll start positioning for what for the whole year. That means that now we're expecting in government, and it's time for us, the investors should invest wisely and position for expectation, because every investment is against the future. Past performance is never a guarantee of. But if you know the sector that have good prospect, you start taking a position before you start materializing.
I think we'll have to leave it there. Ambrose Omodeon, Chief Research Officer, Investor Consulting Limited. Thank you for coming on board.
Thanks for having me, in fact.
We'll take a break now, and when we return, of course, we look at the inflationary pressure, as experts are asking the CBN to perhaps go alternatively in addressing the inflation rate in Nigeria. So that's our next focus on the program. We'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us.